Alright, in this video I want to talk about Russia in Bible prophecy. Now, a lot of people think that Russia is the bear of Daniel chapter 7. And that's something I want to get into, but before I do, I want to talk about Daniel chapter 2 and Daniel chapter 7, where it's talking about the prophecies of the kingdoms of the world. I would always see them as history that has happened. A good chunk of it has already happened. You see, the statue of Daniel chapter 2 has a head of gold, chest of arms of silver, belly and thighs of brass, legs of iron, and feet of iron and clay. And that represents the kingdoms throughout time, the dominant kingdoms that are actually going to have world power. And they are also represented as beast in Daniel chapter 7. Daniel chapter 7 is the same depiction of the prophecy in Daniel chapter 2, but with beasts and giving more detail. Because in Daniel chapter 2, the head of gold is Babylon, which was conquered by the chest and arms of silver, which is Medo-Persia, which was conquered by the belly and thighs of brass, which is Greece, and then the legs of iron, which was Rome. And then the iron and feet, the feet of iron and clay, won't get into right now. And then we see that depicted again in Daniel chapter 7, where the head of gold, Babylon, is represented by a lion. The chest and arms of silver, Medo-Persia, represented by a bear. The belly and thighs of brass, which is Greece, represented by a leopard. And the legs of iron, which is Rome, represented by this indescript beast that's kind of dragon-like, reptilian-like. And that's how it is, right? Now, granted, history repeats itself. There's nothing new under the sun. What has been done will be done again, right? So, no doubt these things can have multiple applications. I'm not going to say that. But we got some issues here because these fit really well with the countries mentioned. Babylon, the head of gold, as the lion, and Nebuchadnezzar as a lion was humbled, made to eat grass as a beast for 7 years, and humbled so he was like the lion, where its wings were plucked off, and made to stand up like a man and given the heart of a man. Right? So we see that fits. With the chest and arms of silver, Medo-Persia fitting with the bear, as the bear had 3 ribs in its mouth. And Medo-Persia conquered Grecia, Babylon, and Egypt. So those are 3 nations that it destroyed to get its dominance. And then the leopard, having 4 wings, represent the swiftness of Alexander the Great when he ended up conquering the world. And the 4 heads represent the 4 generals that took over when Alexander the Great died. He died, and 4 generals took over areas of his kingdom and had their own little kingdoms. And then Rome, represented by this indescript beast, teeth of iron, and it just trampled over the whole world and conquered. You see how that all fits, right? And the thing is that today, these countries exist. Babylon is known as Iraq. Medo-Persia, represented by Iran, or is Iran now. You have Greece, still today Greece, and Rome, still today Rome, right? So why is this applied to new countries? I do not get that. I'm not saying it can't happen, but I don't get it. You see, people like to say that Russia is the bear because it uses a bear as its emblem. Okay. So then who's Babylon? A lot of people say that England is Babylon, using the lion, right, as its emblem. So it's like, okay, all right, that can make some sense. But there's a lot of countries that use a lion as an emblem, but, England was a strong power for a while. And then you have a lot of people getting all kinds of mixtures about who the leopard is, right? But if we're going to be consistent, what countries actually use the leopard as a symbol, right? And while looking into it, I saw it was Pakistan, Afghanistan, Benin, and the Congo, right? So that would be Grisha. They're going to be a dominant power. Whether they all going to come together and form some kind of alliance? I mean, not saying it's not going to happen, but is that the four heads of this leopard, right? But it's weird because they'll say that Russia's the bear, England's the lion because they're the national symbols, but then when it comes to the leopard, they'll say that it's America, which uses the bald eagle, or they'll say it is Germany, which also uses an eagle. And not to mention the four heads of the leopard. Don't make any sense, right? It's just, I'm not following along how they see these things. Now, you can try to mix this together, you know, but yeah, I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try to see it from other people's point of view and see how it fits. So we're gonna take England as Babylon because they're represented by a lion. They had a lot of world power, but after their treatment of Israel, setting up the nation of Israel, and I guess, yeah, how that went, their country kind of fell after that, and they didn't have the same dominance. And at that time, Russia did kind of rise up at the end of World War II and had a prominent political support or power, I would say, for quite a while until the USSR fell, right? But at the same time, you can say that America was risen up at that time and even stronger, right? So if you want to say that Russia's the bear, you might want to say that America is part of that because the bear had one of its shoulders raised up, representing the chest and arms of silver, where one arm is dominant, the other one's weaker, because it was a Medo-Persian empire. It was two countries together. And you could say that America and Russia are a tag team, good cop, bad cop, right? And they could have been working as a team. That makes some sense there, right? I don't know. Just trying to put it together, see things from other people's point of view. And you kind of see them working as a team now today, right? Where we shut down our own oil and make it so we're dependent on Russian oil so that we're not going to attack them because the gas prices are always going really high right now. So, it's kind of like we're working together, but we're pretending to be enemies. That's how it looks, right? And then the leopard. I could see why some people would say Germany because the leopard represented Greece. And what Alexander the Great did was basically a blitzkrieg. He attacked really fast and he used propaganda. What he did was he would send a lot of people to whatever cities and areas that he was going to go attack and psych them out before he even got there. Talking about how great and big his army is and how he's destroyed everybody he's come across and just psyching them out, just messing in their head and demoralizing their troops before he even got there, where a lot of them would even leave before he got there. And then he would just come in really fast, take everything out, and then move on, right? Before anybody could regroup and counter, he just kept going, right? And you see Germany did the same thing. They just attacked really fast, a whole lot of propaganda, especially with France. They were dropping pamphlets over France about, what's his name? Nostradamus, and how Nostradamus predicted a guy named like Hister coming and that they wouldn't be able to defeat him. So the France ended up just surrendering, right? They backed down. They got psyched out. The propaganda and the blitzkrieg. Germany just came through, right? So I can see that, but then the four heads don't really get that. Uh, but that makes some sense. But that would say that Germany is going to actually rise again, right? Because right now we're in a period of time of Medo-Persia. That means there's going to be a period of time where Germany's dominant, right? Because Medo-Persia is going to fall, and it's going to fall to the leopard, right? The bear gets taken over by the leopard, and if Germany's the leopard, Germany's going to have that power for a while. And how this has gone along is the power, I don't know how long it's been, like what, each country gets it for about 50 to 100 years. And then the power of Russia with the America has been going on for 50, 100 years or so, if not longer. And then when Germany takes over, that's another 50, 100 years of dominance? Or does this stuff speed up? Not saying it doesn't speed up, but if we're going to go consistently here, that would mean prophetically, if these things are going to repeat till completion, we get a lot longer than we thought, right? Because then, Germany or whoever is the leopard is going to have some kind of power for a while until a revived Roman Empire comes back. Because everybody still says that Rome is Rome, right? And that Roman Empire will come back. But you see, this is just kind of winging it here. This kind of makes sense, but then it's saying that the time frame is a lot longer because a lot of people think we're going to be raptured soon. And if this is true about just Russia being the bear, yeah, things are a little bit different here, right? But also, the bear conquers three places, right? It was Grecia, Babylon, and Egypt when it got to power. So Russia would have to dominate over the Grecia, which is the leopard, which would be Germany, Babylon, the lion, which would be England, and then Egypt, I'm not sure what that represents. It could represent the world, as in a lot of times in the Bible, the world is represented by Egypt. So it could say when it gets this power, it has world power, world influence, where it's the superpower, right? And that's how I guess it is with the combined tag team of Russia and America. I think there might be a bit of a tag team there because they did both split Germany for a while, right? After World War II, East and West Germany, East and West Berlin. So, there could be something to that. But, yeah, there's another little twist before I end this video. There's a lot of people who associate, with good reason, Rome to Babylon. So if Rome is Babylon, that changes a lot of things, right? I mean, it makes this whole thing go kind of crazy. It could still mean that Russia is still the bear, but then Russia's going to dominate the Vatican there, Rome. It's going to conquer that and conquer whoever the leopard is, and then the world, right? And the leopard could represent the Muslim nations, as Russia might want to just go through there and dominate. But I don't know, right? I mean, there's so many ways this can be played out. It could, for all we know, played out all of these ways. But I can't quite put everything together, right? Because it doesn't seem consistent. Because we're going to identify the nations by their national animal. Well, then, how does that work, right? But yeah, Just something to think about. Anybody got some ideas? You want to put their 2 cents into it? I'm all ears. You want to put this together, how this all makes sense today? Like, who's the lion, who's the bear, who's the leopard, who's the indescript dragon-like beast? Put it together. I'll hear you out and hear your reasoning. But anyway, thanks for watching and take care.